तत्परम्पर्याय विद्महे ज्ञानलिङ्गेश्वराय धीमहि तन्नो गुरुः प्रचोदयात् ॐ. Namaskaram, everyone. This is Sangeeta Laura Biagi. Welcome to another episode of Songs of the heart-to-heart conversations with mentors, teachers, and our Gitananda family worldwide. I am super delighted today, as usual. Every episode is a delight for me. And today, I would like to introduce our dear Yogacharya Bharata, Bill Francis Berry. Namaskaram, Bharataji.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. So before I go ahead and introduce you by sharing some of your lengthy, amazing bio, would you like to share an invocation with us?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Sangeeta. Thank you to Swami Gitananda, Dr. Anandaji. Thank you to my teachers also, Namadeva Acharya and Sadhguru Sankechadas. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha.
Thank you. Thank you, Bharataji. Okay, so your bio is so inspiring. And as usual, I will read some highlights here and there and then share the full bio in the description of the video. So, Bharata, you have been practicing yoga for many, many years, a lifetime of devotion. You purchased your first yoga book when you were a teenager. And then who would have known that your path would then have taken you to India on a pilgrimage with your wife and so many other sadhakas. And you have been following the teachings as you just invoked their name of your acharyas, Namadeva Acharya and Sadhguru Sant Keshavadas, pardon me. And so you followed their teachings, and then you were also ordained a priest of that parampara. And you have been also, you earned 4 degrees and invested 25 years in a very successful career in computing. And you have been integrating your yoga sadhana and attribute some of your successes actually to the capacity that the sadhana had to keep you focused and motivated and healthy. So we will ask you about that, absolutely. In 2010, you created mantravijaya.com. It's a website, but it's more than that. It's an actual international sangha because you have students in over 30 countries. And in this practice, you teach mantra and Vedic chanting. Also, Vedic ceremonies workshops in the US, Canada, and internationally. So it's really wonderful. I would like to begin with that, if that's okay with you, because teaching mantra, Vedic ceremony workshops in the US, Canada, internationally, I would like to be asking you about that in a moment. But to finish, in 2016, it's when you were so blessed to meet our Acharya, Dr. Ananda Balayogi Bhavanani, and have since studied with Dr. Ananda and being in correspondence with him in various ways. And you have taken part of some of the online teachings of Dr. Ananda and are also a guest speaker in some of his conferences and symposiums that he organizes. So Mantra Vijaya, that began in 2010. And how did that start for you, your relationship with mantra, your relationship with mantra sadhana, and then teaching it to others? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sangeeta. When I was a teenager and I bought that first book on yoga, I was first exposed to mantra. At age 19, I learned some teachings from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, Transcendental Meditation. but the most important things I think I learned from Maharishi's teachings was that I was reminded of how valuable the daily practice, the sustained daily practice, and that twice a day daily meditation practice, that in fact what became a cornerstone of my life, my adult life, in terms of my strengths, in terms of any successes that I had. The meditation experiences evolved over time, but the sustained daily practice of the yoga techniques, of the pranayama techniques, of the meditative techniques, that is my passion. That has been my cornerstone. In terms of leading me to go deeper into mantra teachings, Namadeva Acharya was a wonderful teacher who expanded my understanding of mantra to include the whole realm of practicality in life. I had understood it previously to be primarily a technique of spiritual growth and spiritual advancement. Well, of course, all of our lives, our whole lives are on the field of Dharma, on the field of spiritual opportunity, spiritual progress or not, depending on people's choices. So the practicality side of mantra practices was very inspiring and very beneficial to my life. I also learned Vedic ceremony through Namadeva Acharya and the teachings, the tradition of Sadhguru Sant Keshvadas, practicing a classic Sadashoprachara 16 form of puja ceremony or yajna, fire ceremony, also called yagya, depending on which part of India we're from. So my interest in learning Vedic ceremony from Namadeva and the teachings of Sant Keshvadas, I wanted to experience what Namadeva was experiencing during the ceremony. That was my passion. And that led me to some opportunities to take the studies further when he left the body in October of 2010. A couple of us looked around and thought, well, who's going to teach that aspect of the teaching? So myself, another key participant, another key leader of the community, David Famke, Maheshwara, he and I put together this under the guidance of Namadeva's wife, Satyabhama, Ashley Farand. We put together a program to teach Vedic ceremony and began to teach it in North America, and that has been a joy and a pleasure. As things progressed, as you mentioned, I was blessed in 2016 to attend a workshop in Montreal with our beloved teacher, my primary teacher, Dr. Anandaji. So that created a whole new chapter on my journey.
Thank you so much, Bharataji, for sharing. Before we share some of the teachings of the Gitananda Parampara, would you like to share with us what your experience was? And I'm sure it still is resonating with you, but what your experience was of your pilgrimage in India in 2009, particularly any experience you had with sound, whether it was through listening to the sonic environment, as well as your own chanting, because you had some special experiences occurring to you while you were there. And I think it would be very special to hear you share those with us. Thank you.
The major experience I've had with sound, with nada, have been more in the inner realms, more in the silence, the deeper silence. My passion has been the antaranga or samyama, forms of yoga, also referred to sometimes as the Raja Yoga, the emphasis building upon the Pratyahara, the Dharana, the Dhyana, and the Samadhi practices. When we were in India, we were blessed to visit many temples. We met with some great Jagat Guru Shankaracharyas. We visited the cave of Vashista up near Haridwar. We visited in Renikhet the sage that the SRF, the Yogananda community, honors as the cave of Babaji. And so in each of those locations in India, the vibration, some of the temples we would walk into, the Shakti was so strong, your legs would buckle. One of the Shankaracharyas was able to transmit energy into people in a Shaktipat form. They didn't advertise that, but some people who were sensitive would notice that. And so there were multiple blessings like that. But to go back to my point, my primary experiences with nada are more on the inner realms and the silent realms, the silent vibratory realms, and the inner sounds.
Thank you. And if you were to then share with someone who has never experienced inner sounds or who doesn't know what you are referring to, how would you explain it to them? How would you share it with them? What it is that you are actually experiencing in these inner realms?
Well, it's a great question. And I would ask a little bit about what their level of experience is with turning their attention within, with either silent meditative practices or any form of meditative practices. What's their experience level so far? Have they done any disciplines with meditative practice, daily disciplines, or with pranayama practices? And depending on what I thought they would best understand, I would point out that inner peace is a learned habit, and that people talk about centering. People talk about turning the attention within. We have the great traditions that teach us that the kingdom of heaven is within. We have the teachings from the research community about the relaxation response and that's part of our physiology of deepening our centeredness, our calmness. All of those are preliminaries. They're prerequisites to that deepening experience. And the key to this is the daily practice. It's the sustained, whether somebody is working a 60-hour work week or whether somebody is semi-retired and they've got lots of free time. The daily practice is the cornerstone. The sustained daily practice, doing the practices according to the way that they were taught by that teacher from the authentic yoga tradition that a person follows. If we do the practices every day, one of the prerequisites to that inner experience of inner sound, of inner silence, one of the prerequisites is the foundational components of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. The yamas and the niyamas are essential. To attain that inner stillness, we need to find ways to slow down the chatter of the mind, the chitta vrittis, the disturbances of the mind. We do that through the daily practice. We do that through self-effort and non-attachment. We do that by following the teachings that we've learned from yoga. We can uncover, we can remove some of those disturbances of our inner experience through the daily pranayama practice. We have this wonderful teaching of the Atma, of the soul within, of the essence of the divine that is within each of us. The closer we can get to that, the closer we can bring our awareness towards that place within, the attraction gets stronger. The slowing down of the disturbances of mind increases. The inner horizons open up. The richness of the inner experience builds, and it's very rewarding. And so part of your question was in terms of these inner sounds. First, I'll say that all of our inner experiences are clouded by subjectivity of each person, where they are in their spiritual progression. So there's variations on these experiences, and yet there are characteristic milestones. There are characteristic sounds of that we can experience. The dasa dun, the antara shabda, the inner sound that Swami Gitananda spoke of. These are advanced experiences in many cases, and we don't dwell on them but they are milestones. And there are other techniques of inner listening where we use the nada. We follow the nada within. We start to listen through pratyahara and dharana. We close off our external senses and we turn more attention within. As soon as we do that, there's an increased energy flow within. As Dr. Ananda reminds us, where the mind goes, the energy flows. When we can shut off some of the expenditure of external sensual priorities, we discover a richness of internal senses, internal sensory experiences, visual and audio, and that's where the teachings of the pranava, the teachings of the primordial Om sound, is that level of nada at the causal level, and that's the foundation. That's the foundation of the full spectrum of nada yoga, which covers the vocal, the music, the external expression, as well as the inner methodologies of the inner practices. So when we progress through this pathway, there are inner sounds that we hear, and they can be understood as milestones of progress, or as Swami Gitananda taught, they can be understood as focal points of concentration to bring us further within. So that's a long answer to your question.
It's a marvelous answer. Thank you so much for condensing all of these amazing teachings into one answer. Thank you. So I would like to ask you another question, which is, what is silence? And yeah, just what is silence? And also, can we talk of a silence within? We talked about sounds within. May we talk also about silence within, or are they the same?
It's a wonderful question. Silence, there's two ways to understand silence. Silence is the absence of noise. Silence is also the fullness of a richness of experience, an inner expansion. We have to step away from the noise in order to get to that inner richness. All of our experiences in life, we go through life with this little voice in our head that's the chattering voice that's telling us and critiquing what we do and guiding us and repeating what we've been told to do and learned to do. We are not that voice. We are the awareness behind that voice. We are the essence of the awareness is like a silent witness that's watching, seated in the Atman, life after lifetime, watching the dramas. As we as we increase our inner attunement, as we travel the path within, the external dramas are less of a draw. Our inner awareness expands. The silence gets larger. The silence gets deeper. The silence expands. The local point, the locus of our identification of ourself changes. We're not this little voice in our head. We're not some energy here. We start to identify with the Atman, with the glimpses of the Atman. That brings us an expansion of the samatvam, the equanimity. It brings us an expansion beyond the boundaries of the dramas, beyond the boundaries of each incarnation. And we have a whole new vantage point of perspective in which we live our lives. We live with a connection, a stronger connection to that silent, expansive, peaceful Atman. And that doesn't make us passive. That strengthens our ability to be human. That strengthens our inner peace so that we can have greater clarity and vitality at being proactive in the world. So the silence is a radiant attraction, and as I mentioned, inner peace, tapping into that silence, it comes through sustained practice. We've got to do the practice every day.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So in 2016, you met our beloved Yogacharya Dr. Nanda Yogi Bhavanani, and a deepening of the path, or an unfolding of the path, began. And what is, in your experience, because you had an extensive experience of yoga practice before, what is, in your experience, something specific, unique about the Gitananda Parampara?
How do I do justice to such a wonderful question in a couple of minutes? The wealth of knowledge that came through Swami Gitananda and Dr. Ananda's beloved Amaji, his mother, and now Dr. Ananda, the depth of yoga knowledge is just, it's just fabulous. It's in my experience. I've been blessed with some wonderful teachers, but I've graduated to a new level of blessing in terms of being with the teachings of the Gitananda tradition. The depth and the depth of understanding at the level of advanced consciousness, of understanding the scriptures and the classic yoga texts, the depth, the practical balancing of these yogic teachings with medical health and physiology and anatomy and healthcare is just profound. The depth of experience of some of the techniques, the mantra laya teachings that Swami Gitananda taught us. When I took the course with Dr. Ananda, the Yogic Psychic Neurology course, in the wonderful, amazing course, I hesitated at first. I thought neurology, I'm not a medical professional. Am I going to be over my head? Well, this was a wonderful spiritual teaching, very practical and very illuminating. The last two classes of that 12 class course spent quite a bit of time teaching the mantra laya technique. That has become, as soon as I started to appreciate that technique, I could see that this was a major special technique in terms of advanced practices. It's a technique of following precise instructions. It's a synchronized internal dharana that is coordinated with the chanting of the Sanskrit letters of the Sanskrit alphabet, correlated to the 50 petals of the first 6 major chakras. It's the dala beaches. It's the beaches of each petal, chanted according to a certain sequence of instruction, certain focus, with some preliminary and with some additional instructions that are essential. This is such a powerful, amazing teaching. And then, so that's been my passion. I've been doing that now for some 15 months, 16 months, every day, sometimes twice a day. It's just such a powerful technique. So I've been extremely thankful for that. A simpler technique along the same lines, the chanting of the Dara beajas, the beajas of each of the first 6 or first 7 major chakras, as taught by Dr. Ananda, chanting that in a sequence for 5-10 minutes every day, chanting that in an ascending sequence, pronouncing the teaching, the mantras as taught by Dr. Ananda. Very powerful daily practice. One more practice I can mention that I've been really loving from what Dr. Ananda has been teaching us, and we included it. Parts of it were included in the Nada Yoga course that we've just had. We're still in. The prana kriya practice, Dr. Ananda has done a scintillating Saturday session on that. A wonderful practice. I've been doing that practice with the Brahmadya Bindu Dharana. In that yogic psychic neurology course, there was wonderful teachings on the Sapta Bindu practices. It was a somewhat introductory level of some of these advanced teachings on the Sapta Bindu practices. And so in the context of the 52-week course and in the context of these teachings on the prana kriya, Dr. Ananda taught that this prana kriya practice with this focus on the Brahmadya Bindu Dharana, and then in the yoga, in the step-by-step 52-week training, Swami Gitananda added the part about the Shabda Kriya, the Shabda Pratyahara that can be used to follow that prana kriya practice. The Shabda Kriya practice brings in the inner listening. After we've done several rounds of the prana kriya and that inner focus on the Brahmanda Bindu, we can do this, the inner listening. And so that has been a joy. It's been a deepening experience. So I highlight that as another wonderful practice that I've learned from Dr. Ananda.
Thank you very much, Bharataji, for reminding us who were able to take the classes that you mentioned, reminded us to bring all of these teachings together. And those of us who have not taken these classes can now be sparked in their imagination to check out these offerings by Dr. Ananda. So I'll make sure that I include them in the description of the video at the end. Dr. Ananda has several online offerings through the icwire.com website. So, okay, we're coming to the completion of this session. And I would like to ask you if you have anything else you would like, or if you have something rather than anything else, if you have something that you would like to share with us, some sort of an encouragement or a message of hope, I would say, on how we can embark on or continue our journey in yoga at these times, and how you would like to, just share with us your encouragement or anything else you would like. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I've been beating the drum of the daily practice, and the reason I do that is that it strengthens our ability to become the best version of ourselves, as Dr. Ananda phrases it. Another reminder from Dr. Ananda, he teaches us that self-effort is the currency of our spiritual practice, of our spiritual growth. So when we do, whether somebody is a parent taking care of young children, which is more than a full-time job, or if they're doing that and they're working a full-time job out of the home, or somebody else that's in a stressful situation that life certainly has many of them, to the extent we can incorporate 20 minutes every morning, 15 minutes every morning, 30 minutes every morning, if we can do it twice a day, doing the daily practices, it improves our ability to cope with the stresses in the world. It improves our ability to transcend the dramas and to not, it enables us to react from a place of inner strength and clarity, as opposed to react as a response to the dramas, to the intensities that are around us so often. So my closing thought is stay with the practice, do the practice as taught by that teacher that you follow, that you respect, and stay with it for the months, for the years. The more we invest in our daily practices and then our experience and our strength as human beings grows. Our attunement with that inner nada, that inner Atman, it grows, and it benefits those in our families, it benefits our coworkers, it benefits our neighbors, it benefits the world. And so the old classic saying, world peace begins with each one of us. This is a promo for that as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bharata. And we would like to also thank all of you who have been listening and receiving the sharing, because sharing is caring, as Dr. Ananda says often, but also receiving the sharing is a form of caring. So thank you for listening, everyone. And remember to immerse yourselves into the reading of the bio of our amazing Bharataji, and also to check the links that are at the end of the description. So thank you all, and thank you so much, Bharata.
Thank you, Sangeeta.
You're welcome. It's a great pleasure, great honor. And we'll see you all very soon. Okay? Namaskaram.
Loka samasta sukhinu bhavantu sarve janaha sukhinu bhavantu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti